clouds on a rainy day. Oh, the fire in the hills and I'm headed your way. Oh, it's alright, baby, don't be afraid. Just give a heads up on my dangerous ways. And I know everything I touch burns right down to dust. 'Cause I'm reckless, yeah, I'm reckless. And I always seem to fall on the wrong side of the law. 'Cause I'm reckless, yeah, I'm reckless. I keep my hand right on the flame, and I try but I can't change my reckless ways. I'm gunpowder in a shell looking for the lead. I'm the proof and the poison running through your head. Oh, I'm a blade on a knife in the deepest cut. And these dangerous ways ain't danger enough, no. And I know everything I touch burns right down to dust. 'Cause I'm reckless, yeah, I'm reckless. And I always seem to fall on the wrong side of the law. 'Cause I'm reckless, yeah, I'm reckless. I keep my hand right on the flame, and I've tried but I can't change my reckless ways. Oh, ooh, I think I'm in love. Oh, I think I'm in love. Yeah, in love with trouble, 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 trouble. I think I'm in love with trouble. And I know everything I touch burns right down to dust. 'Cause I'm reckless, yeah, I'm reckless. And I always seem to fall on the wrong side of the law. 'Cause I'm reckless, yeah, I'm reckless. I keep my hand right on the flame, and I try but I can't change my reckless ways. I know everything I touch burns right down to dust. 'Cause I'm reckless, yeah, I'm reckless. And I always seem to fall on the wrong side of the law. 'Cause I'm reckless, and I can't help my reckless ways. My reckless ways. My reckless ways. My reckless ways.
Yo! What's up, everyone? Hey, Amir, doing the yo. Love it, love it. Ah, thank you so much, Amir, for joining us today. Happy Saturday, everyone. Amir was commenting that why is it so early? And it's hard to pick a time. It's hard to pick a time. We do it Saturdays, try and get it out of the way, and then move on with the weekend. But Amir, appreciate you being here and getting up to join us. The crowd is very excited. And so for those that don't know, Amir Netz is a technical fellow at Microsoft and the CTO for Microsoft Fabric, which everyone is ablaze about. There's so much excitement about Microsoft Fabric. And so Amir, I'd like any insights into what you do and how you do it all.
Wow, that's one of the hardest questions you can ask me, and thank you so much for having me here, Adam. I'm really excited. Yeah, what do I do? I work with the entire product team on really the vision for the product, the design of the product, how everything comes together. Thinking about what we're doing next, what will be exciting, what we need to fix. So it's kind of it's very mixed day. There's not really any day that is like the other, and it's really about a lot of time just connecting the dots together.
Yeah, yeah, and connecting people and making sure things are moving, right? So it's always a must do. So one thing I'll do. So first off, if you're new to the stream or GuineCube in general, put hashtag new in the chat. We always love seeing the new faces. Always great to see folks from around the world joining and participating. So we definitely appreciate that. And also Amir, I'll start it off real quick. There was Van Lessing, who's been around for a while. He did a shout out and said, today I activated my Fabric trial for my private account. So he's getting started. So it's
That's
exciting.
awesome.
It's exciting. All right. A couple of housekeeping things real quick. So also, I said, so folks are getting the hashtag new in there. Also, big shout out to members of GuineCube. Thank you so much. You help us do what we do here on the stream and on the channel in general. If you see folks with a green name or the logo next to their name, those are members of GuineCube. So thank you so much for helping and participating and just doing everything that you do. If you want to learn more, check out the link on the screen or hit the join button down below to learn more. No commitment required. Just a big thank you for checking it out. And then members, also, this is going to be an open chat the whole time, so we're not going into members only mode. So get your questions in. And then rules for the questions. Put Q colon in front of your question. Chatmaster C is standing by to get them queued up. One time is all you need. Please do not spam the chat. If you do, Chatmaster C or one of our lovely moderators will put you in a timeout. So no need to do that. We have a 3 strikes rule here on GuineCube. And so please do not spam. One time's all you need. We never get through all the questions. So come back next time and we'll try again. All right. Amir, let's see. Well, first off, Amir is new to the live stream. This is your first time on the stream, so thanks for being here. We've got Kanga Software is new. Nguyen is new. Patricia's new from Texas. Great state of Texas. I appreciate that. Adrian is new. What else we got? Yeah, Kevin, Amir is new. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciated having you here. All right, Amir, I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna be a little selfish and inject my own question first,
Sure.
because we've been hearing a lot of these questions both on the Fabric Cat team. I've been seeing it on Reddit and Twitter. And so at Build, it was announced that, all the CoPilot stuff, and CoPilot was amazing. There was a lot of excitement around that. And there was an announcement that you could sign up for the private preview, but it's full now. So I don't know if you wanted to comment just about where CoPilot's at and what's going on with that.
Yeah, so Copilot is one of those initiatives that started reasonably late, on the whole explosion of the GTP, ChatGPT, all of that is kind of fairly new. We started it ahead of the big explosion, but it's still one of those parts of the product that is, on one hand, incredibly transformational. On the other hand, it's probably the most late arriving piece into the product. So still a lot of those copilots are under work. And just to be very clear, it's not just one copilot. There are many copilots that are going to be in Fabric.
Yeah.
One of them is the copilot you saw there for Power BI, where it creates the reports for you. There will actually be another one, another piece of copilot in Power BI that will going to help you write the DAX. And then there are copilots for data warehousing, for data science, and for data engineering, and for data integration. So there are a lot of copilots in the works. And our intention is to bring all those copilots to the market, to all of you by the end of this calendar year. And they will arrive one by one. It's not like we have one team working on all those copilots. There are many, many teams that are working on Fabric, and each one of them is building its own copilot for its own workload. And as these copilots are ready, they will be delivered. And I think some of them are closer, maybe a month or two away, and some of them are will require more work. And we really, believe me, we are just as excited and anxious as to delivering those copilots to you as you are waiting for them.
Yes. Yep. So be patient. The P in Power BI is for patience on the Copilot stuff. It's coming. So, but everyone's excited. I love the excitement around it. It's amazing to see. So, yeah. All right. Good deal. All right. And Jay Murphy, thank you so much for the super sticker. Very much appreciated for your support. And I see Alex Powers in the house. How you doing, Alex? Good to see you. And let's go to the queue. And let's see here. So we've got, I'm going to go with Thomas first. He had a question. Why does Fabric not include an Azure SQL Server option instead of only data warehouse?
Why does Azure not include basically the Azure SQL database? I think it's not called Azure SQL Server. It's called Azure SQL Database, and instead of only the data warehouse. Well, I think that this is a question that talks about where we want to take Fabric next, and I think you'll be surprised. A lot of the other data assets that we have in Microsoft, we're looking to include them into Fabric. We think that Fabric, starts its life as kind of a complete analytics platform. But I think as we go forward, you'll see that it's really not just about analytics, it's about the entire data estate, everything in the data estate. So it's going to be both analytics, it's going to be both operational, it's going to be a lot of other things that are related to data. So, think about it. We are in, 2 minutes in to the game. We're still in the first quarter. We have a long way to go. And I think it's going to be very, very exciting journey for all of us.
Yeah. Well, and I said it before too, the fact that we just launched the public preview of Fabric, and for some of us that have been kind of working on it for a long time, it's like, oh, we're familiar with things, but I see all these comments about people feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't understand all of it yet. I feel so behind. It's like, it's okay. It just came out. Spend the time, figure it out, play with it, explore it. There's a lot there.
I must say that the reception that we're getting to Fabric and I think the adoption, the early adoption we're already seeing, especially from the Power BI community, how they extend themselves and skill up themselves and study Fabric is so gratifying. It's everything we hoped will happen.
Yeah. Kevin saying, yes, the game is long. You got plenty of time. Let's figure out where the right pieces of Fabric fit into your organization and your projects and take advantage of those. So, all right, let's go through. Let's see. Sohail had a question. We have a Power BI Premium P1 capacity. So do we still require to purchase a Fabric capacity?
No, so Power BI Premium capacity and Fabric capacity are exactly the same thing. You buy them separately or differently. You buy them differently, not separately. You also buy them separately, but you also buy them differently. The one you buy in Office, the other one you buy in Azure. One is coming with a fixed price and an annual commitment. The one that we have in Azure is what we call pay as you go. You turn it on, you turn it off as much as you want. There's no commitment, and you pay just for the time it's up. But that's really the only difference between them. Except for that, they're pretty much identical. So if you have a Power BI Premium, it's as if you have a Fabric capacity. There's no additional purchase required.
Yep. It's amazing. And then I know it was announced also reserved instances are coming on the Fabric capacity side.
Yeah, so if you go today to Azure and you look at the prices for the capacity, you look at, I give specific, there's a SKU called F64.
Yeah.
And the F64 is exactly the equivalent of a P1 that you know in Power BI. But if you look at the prices, they're not matching. The F64 price today in Azure is significantly more expensive because it doesn't include the commitment element. So people, when you want to buy, you can buy it and then turn it on and off as much as you want. Whereas you buy the P1 capacity, it's on for the entire year. Now, we are going to have the reserve instance option in Azure, which will essentially discount the F64 pay-as-you-go price. So if you're willing to commit for a year, you'll get pretty much the same price as if you bought the P1 in Office.
Yep. So that'll be coming out later, though. That's not available right now.
Yes.
So excellent. All right. Let's go back to the queue. Let's see here. Let's go to Conga. I've actually been seeing some items around this. So ISVs, app owns data, multi-tenant SaaS, Azure SQL, Power BI embedded, Azure AD B2C for subscriber auth and service principals. Want to use Direct Lake, but Fabric doesn't support service principals. How to proceed? And yeah, I'll let you comment, but I'm not exactly sure what specifics they're going for.
Yeah, well, I think I may be getting my timing wrong, but I think Fabric already supports service principals,
Yep.
and I think managed identity is also coming to Fabric, so these things should be there.
Yeah, and
If maybe the timing is a bit off, and maybe it's not yet there, but it will be there soon. So,
well, my
remember.
question also is like, what specifically are they wanting service principals on? Because like if we're embedding Power BI reports, like those support service principals today from an API perspective. I do know there are some limits right now on the Direct Lake specifically. So like some of the XMLA support's not there yet, but those things will be coming. It's being worked on. So Conga, it'd be great if you could get me some more information specifically about what you're looking for and your scenario around service principals that you feel is missing right now. And then also, I would be remiss, I'll put it in the chat. If there is something that's missing and you really would like that in the product, is go to the Fabric Ideas site and either submit it or vote it up. And the product team is always listening to that. And right now, I would say everyone's hyper listening on Fabric as well as we're in public preview to try and get to GA. So definitely get that feedback in. All right. Let's see here. All right. Oscar's got one. Being able to pause Fabric capacities is great to reduce costs. However, I haven't seen a way to do this programmatically. It'd be great to have a REST API that can pause and resume. Is that planned?
Yeah, I think that it's the ARM APIs for pause and resume should just work with the Fabric capacities. I don't think you need a specific new API for that. So just use the Azure ARM APIs.
You're right. Yeah, and that's on the Azure side. So I think if people are looking specifically at the Power BI or Fabric REST APIs, you're not going to see it there. It's part of the Azure ARM stuff. So ARM stands for Azure Resource Management. But again, if you want that, I'll point you back to the idea site. If you feel that you need that from a REST API perspective on Fabric, get your feedback in. All right. Let's see here. Matt has a question about Data Activator. Any ideas on the timelines for that?
Yeah, it should be out by the end of the summer. So perhaps when the kids go to school. I don't want to promise of the operative specific dates, but that's about when I would expect it to show up. Very, very excited about it. There has been so many improvements as we go along, and so many new things I've seen in the work. So it's going to be big, really, really big.
Yeah, and for those that aren't familiar, can you give maybe a 30-second elevator pitch on like what Data Activator is for folks that aren't familiar?
So Data Activator is this new capability that we have in Fabric that constantly monitors data as it comes in. It could be data that is already in OneLake or data that is in flight on the way to OneLake. One thing that people maybe not even appreciating yet, that we have a whole messaging stack for streaming data built into Fabric in the SaaS. You may be familiar with it as Azure Event Stream, Azure Event Hub and Azure Stream Analytics, and now it shows up as Azure Event Stream inside Fabric. But that's a complete messaging stack, and Data Activator can either monitor the data that sits already in OneLake or the data that is coming as messages real time, and then instantly on the fly, constantly evaluate if some action needs to be taken. If things are getting out of control, things are going bad, and then you can take an action such as notifying a human or starting an automated business process, maybe in Power Automate or other kind of actions. So it's really exciting. It's incredibly visual, very, very easy to set those triggers and monitor them, and it can handle really millions of instances of items that you want to follow. So if you are, let's say, a FedEx style company and you have many, many packages that are in motion and you constantly want to monitor and take action when things go wrong with the packages, it will monitor the millions of individual packages at the same time, and it will evaluate one by one if any of them are, need attention.
Yeah, and I love the fact I saw in some of the demos, like you can even create some of those actions directly on the Power BI report, and to be able to use it in that sense as well. So
yeah, so exactly. So it's either data you already have, and if you are using Power BI, there is a UI in Power BI set and alert essentially on top of a chart. Like I want to know when the stock price goes above a certain limit, or our quality level is dropping below a certain limit. So you can just go to the report, go to the chart, set it up there. And that's awesome. And then there are true real-time scenarios, which are just as awesome.
Yep. All right, Van Lessing's got a question. In the Fabric Lakehouse, can you drag and drop folders or files in the Windows Explorer?
I guess you tried it, and it probably doesn't work for you. So the answer is probably no. But I will tell you that we are absolutely looking at Windows Explorer as a model, because we know everybody's familiar with Windows Explorer. So we are trying to make the Fabric Lakehouse follow as closely as possible to Windows Explorer capabilities and experiences. And by the way, because we love Windows Explorer so much, you can also use the Windows Explorer to manage everything inside your Lakehouse. So the answer is, I think it's you cannot do it yet, but I will not be surprised at some point it will come.
Amazing. And it's some of that's a journey, right? And just iterating on capabilities and making it better.
And that's it, right? And when we listen, sometimes I will not even think about it, but a question like this, say, hey, yeah, we really need to do that. It doesn't seem too hard. Let's just go do it.
Yep. And I've seen that many times looking back on the history of Power BI, where the team just reacted quickly to certain things that just made sense. I think I recall there was something on Twitter where someone asked something and I think you responded directly like, yep, going to make that happen. And like the next day or two, it was like, bam, it was there. And it was
because it's so cool to be able to go and work directly with the users. Twitter is a great forum for us. I spend a lot of time on Twitter, reading what you guys are doing, seeing the debates, sometimes answering questions or intervening in debate. But I think the most what I enjoy with Twitter is just understanding what goes on into your head, what you like, what you don't like, and give me an idea of what we can do better.
Yep. And definitely appreciate all the responses you've been giving on Twitter and Reddit and other places as well. It's been amazing. All right. We've got a super chat from Miss Belinda came in. Thank you for the super chat. And she had a question for you, Amir, on the personal side. What do you eat for breakfast? She wants her brain to work like yours.
I honestly, Belinda, I am not eating breakfast. Maybe that's a trick.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's it. Maybe save up for lunch and let the brain work in the morning. All right. Love that. Let's go back. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. I've already enabled Microsoft Fabric Preview 60-day trial and was wondering what will happen when it expires. Heard that if no action is taken to opt out, on July 1st, all tenants will be Fabric. I think there's two different things there.
Yeah, two different questions here.
Yeah.
So let's start. Let's start with the second one. Yes. So we launched Fabric, and we wanted to have everybody have a chance to take a look and evaluate whether you're ready to turn it on for your entire tenant. So we said the Fabric usage of Fabric in the first 5 weeks or so, maybe 6 weeks. Is going to be something that you opt into. And then if you like it, that's awesome. And if you don't like it, you can turn it off. And then starting July, we'll go with a broad preview. Means that everybody by default is in the preview, unless you say, I don't want to. And you can say whenever you want, I don't want to. So whenever you want, you can go to the tenant setting and turn it off. But we don't want you to be in a reactive mode that it's turned on and then suddenly, it shows up and say, oh my God, what's going on here? And how do I get it off? And 2-3 days passes and then you turn it off and the users don't know what happened. It was there and now it's not there. So I say you can turn it off in advance. You can tell us, we just don't want it on right now. We want to wait more time for longer, and then it will not show up in July. So you go evaluate and decide. And if you want to be on the safe side, just turn it off if you don't feel confident yet. But I can tell you that we have thousands of people who are already on, and the feedback has been incredibly positive. But it's each one of us should do their own math and their own evaluation and decide what's right for you.
Yep. And we did a video on Guy in a Cube talking about that setting. So go watch that to learn more. Hey, Alex, if you can drop the link to it, that'd be great. But also, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and sorry, and on the preview question, we're still looking at that. One option we have, generally the preview will be 60 days. It could be that the trial will be 60 days, and we could extend it somewhat if we feel that it's necessary. We'll see.
Yep. Okay. All right. And I'll also say pay attention to the Fabric blog as well. Typically, that's where the announcements will drop. So if there is some news on that front, pay attention to that, and then you'll probably see it on Twitter and Reddit also. All right, and then David didn't have a question, but he had a comment, so I want to share that. Fabric has allowed us to do something that was impossible previously, refreshing data sets after a Synapse run due to being split across secured tenants. So yeah, I'm liking it. It's amazing.
I'm liking it.
Oh, that's nice. All right. Let's see here. Go back. Christian had a question about Power BI report server. What's the future of that within Fabric? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it's still a thing. Look, we were always upfront about Power BI report server. It's not the main thrust of the product. We want people who are not yet ready to move up to the cloud to be able to enjoy a lot of the capabilities of Power BI. And we know sometimes you're not ready yet. Sometimes you need to have half and half. So that's still available. Will continue to be available. Continue to get the regular updates as usual. There are no planned changes here. But it's really kind of a stepping stone towards the cloud. It was never meant to be the final station where you're going to stay forever. And at some point, the organization, I'm pretty sure, will say it's time for us. We're ready to go to the cloud, and then you get the full Fabric.
Yep. And there was a blog post that Chris Finland put out a while ago, just talking about the life cycle of Power BI report server. So definitely refer back to that. That's still the current state of things. And so that is a definite good resource to go review. All right. Peter, will Purview continue to redirect over to Purview Governance Portal in Azure, or will it be more seamless SaaS integration at some point?
Yeah, so I don't want to speak too much for the Purview team, but I can say that Purview is not anymore just Azure Purview, but Purview becomes a Microsoft Purview, and it's really going to be the combination of Purview as you know it for data, plus the Azure or the Office, the M365 Compliance Center, the same place where you do audit logs and the same place where you do manage sensitivity labels, documents, and data leak protection policies, all of that. These two are coming together into Microsoft Purview. So it's not going to be Azure Purview, it's going to be Microsoft Purview, and it's a SaaS product. It's not an Azure thing. So you will be able to experience the entire Purview, both the thing that comes from the Office land and the thing that comes from the Azure land together as SaaS, and it's going to be more in the Office style experience rather than the Azure style experience.
Yep. All right. Scott's got a question about on-prem. He's like, so most of the tutorials deal with loading from files or Azure sources, and Dataflow's Gen 2 seems buggy with on-prem. Any expectations on timelines with on-prem SQL Server, like can dig in and start pulling that in?
Well, it should work. If it doesn't work, then there are bugs, and the bugs will fix them.
Yep.
And I don't have direct visibility towards any bugs and when they're coming, but it should just work. There's no. It's not like something that's, this will be after general availability will allow you to connect your SQL on premises to Fabric. It should work in the preview, and if it doesn't work, we'll fix it.
Yep. And so I would say you should be able to leverage the on-premises data gateway for the on-prem source,
Exactly.
Same as you could with Dataflow's Gen 1. And so that should allow you to pull that in And if that isn't working, again, get feedback in and or open a support case. And even though it's preview, open the support case, and it's best effort to try and figure that out and get it fixed in the system. So definitely do that. All right.
And I will say, just in general, because it's not the only bug we have in the system. This is why it's not generally available, right? We know that we have things to fix, and we want this kind of feedback from you. So thank you so much. And I think you'll see the next few months, the team will be much more focused on really cleaning up the backlog of bugs that we have in the system, rather than focused on introducing additional features.
Yep.
It's not like we're not going to have new features. We are, including the CoPilots.
Yeah.
But you'll see, I think, the pace of the balance, I would say, between new features and work on improving the quality of the product and fixing the bugs based on your feedback. I think we'll see the balance will be shifting towards let's fix it.
Yep. And then Alex also mentioned that, hey, he was aware of some stuff, so make sure you're on the recent gateway as well to make sure that's working properly. So that's a good tip. Good tip. All right. Let's go to, let's see, where is... All right, let's see here. Tom's got a question here. Simple question. I currently aggregate and model all of our data in Azure SQL and just import into Power BI. What would be a good first step to start to learn about and leverage the capabilities of Fabric?
Yeah, I think that Fabric is, I think that the dominating pattern in Fabric is Lake first. I will start with that. So to aggregate and model and collect all the data in Fabric, I would start today with the Lakehouse. So the Lakehouse is a great environment for holding all your data. It stores all the data natively in one lake. It handles both data that is already structured in its nature, things that looks like table, but you can also bring really raw data in forms that are just raw files, because it has this file section in the Lakehouse. And then you can use all sorts of tools to start modeling the data and cleaning it up and aggregating it. You can use the Python notebooks if you like programming. You can use the pipelines. You can use the data flows. So a lot of capabilities to go and perform all this transformation that you need in order to make the data ready for consumption. So that's where I would start. The tutorials for the Lakehouse, the tutorials for the data integration capabilities. And I think you'll have a lot of fun. It's really, really, really fun to work in this environment.
Yeah, and I dropped in the chat the link to the end-to-end tutorials, which are really great to start exploring. And also I would say, like, if you've been doing that import capability, first and foremost, everything you were doing before in Power BI still works, right?
Yes.
It didn't go away. So you can continue doing that. But also, like, leveraging something like Dataflows Gen 2 or other items, you can still bring that data from SQL into the lake and then leverage those new capabilities on top of that, like Amir said.
Now, I would say if your comfort zone is really, I like working in SQL, I like T-SQL, I like stored procedures, that's how I like to change, to manage my data, that's awesome. Then just use the data warehouse capability of Fabric. Yep. Because this is exactly the same T-SQL environment that you're familiar with SQL Server. There's some differences because it's more of a data warehouse rather than an operational database. Everything there is a column store. But T-SQL is T-SQL. And if you know T-SQL, that may be the right choice for you.
Yep. Agreed. All right, moving on. Lance has a question. I gather that dedicated SQL pools are not part of Fabric. What's the strategy behind this, and how should organizations start to plan migration if desired?
Yeah, so when we started Fabric, we had actually two technologies, and I would say both of them were ripe for improvement. We had the dedicated pools of SQL, which were incredibly powerful for very large data warehouses, but really started to have problems if you have not so your data volumes were not very large and you're not expert in optimizing the system, and you really wanted to have separation between compute and storage. So there were some issues with that technology. And then we had another technology, and we still have it, by the way. It is the serverless data warehouse of Synapse. And that one has all the separation of compute and storage and works with a lake, but it didn't have the performance characteristic that people really wanted to have for a data warehouse. And so when we started Fabric, we said this kind of split doesn't make sense. It also make it really hard for us to make progress to really create a modern data warehouse technology. So the data warehouse in Fabric takes a lot of the ideas from both sides. Take the idea of this kind of work directly on top of the lake from the serverless side, and the ability to change the number of nodes dynamically from the serverless side. And then at the same time, takes a lot of the goodness that we have from the dedicated pools, such as column stores, and bring those to get these two ideas together, and then make tons and tons of other improvements around both of them. And that's how we have the Fabric data warehouse. Now, of course, we have to, you guys who are using the Synapse data warehouse today with the dedicated pools in Azure, you ask, okay, that sounds great, but how do I bring my existing data warehouse into Fabric? And that's something that we will provide you with the right tooling to upgrade your system to Fabric. These things are still in the works, so you have to wait for some news. I would recommend, if you are already using Synapse data warehouse, and if you are in a world where it's what we call the lake first pattern, where you prepare the data in Azure, in a data lake in Azure, and then just load the data into the dedicated pools to serve the SQL queries, the transition is going to be instantaneous, because you can just replace the SQL engine of the dedicated pools with the Fabric engine and just work directly on the same files that you have in the lake using the shortcuts capability. If you are doing a lot of the transformations inside the dedicated pools engine, then it's a bit more complex, and we'll give you the tooling to make the transition.
Yep. Excellent. Let's see here. Scott had a comment of, Gen 2 data flows to land in file instead of PBIX allows true Lego block styles of builds. Yes. And that's the power of OneLake right there, right? Leverage that across the different engines.
It's working so well. It's resonating so much with so many people. The idea that, hey, we just put the data in the lake once. I call it the one copy principle. You put it once in the lake and then use it everywhere. Yep. And it's just so liberating to just be able to reuse the same data in so many scenarios.
And I was talking to Patrick yesterday, and he's been digging in more and trying different scenarios, and he couldn't stop. He called me just out of the blue after we had already talked about this, and he's just like, it's just so fast, and it just worked. Like it's like I'm just using it everywhere. He was going crazy. It was really good. So all right, Paul Turley, how you doing, Paul? So many Power BI analyst users were already saturated with information about how to use Power BI correctly. How do you help these customers and users focus on essential skills with the fire hose wide open with all the Fabric information coming?
Yeah, first of all, I completely sympathize, Paul. There is so much going on all at once, and yes, it's like taking Power BI and overnight it becomes like 10 times larger. And if you thought you knew Power BI and you kind of built some mastery of Power BI, and suddenly you say, oh my God, it's so much bigger, and where do I start? And there's so much to learn, and what is Notebook, and how do I use Python, and the Lakehouse, how is it different than a warehouse, and what is this one? Like, there's so much going on all at once, and I wish there was another way we could do it, that we could just trickle those things in, but there wasn't. So we just have to all kind of take a deep breath and start taking it one by one, and hopefully. And by the way, a lot of people will never have to do that. If you just want to create a bunch of beautiful report in Power BI, ignore it. Just ignore it. Yep. But for many, the reaction I'm seeing from the community is that for many of those Power BI experts, they say, "Oh my God, so what's an amazing opportunity for me to grow, to skill up, to advance my career, to find new ways to help my organization and empower my team with all these new capabilities." And so I think that it's kind of an opt-in. You don't have to know everything, but I think many of you, especially if you are passionate enough to show up on 7 a.m. in the morning, for on Saturday for this Q&A, you probably want to skill yourself up. You're probably passionate enough that you see the opportunity.
I'll call them the super fans of Fabric.
Yes.
So, yep. And take advantage. So first off, the community is amazing. It's been amazing with Power BI. It's amazing with Fabric. Take full advantage of that. Local user groups, take advantage of Twitter, take advantage of Reddit, take advantage of the community site where you can go ask questions and people lean in. The fact that you're here, we're probably preaching to the choir, as Amir said. Like this, you folks are all tuned into the community, and we appreciate that. Also, like Saturday morning learning, as Jack put in there. So that's a group that gets together right before this live stream, and they do like learning stuff together. And so you're not in a vacuum doing it alone. There's people there that can help you and work on it together.
And let me tell you another thing that here, because I think that you'll see a natural split that will happen moving forward. So you have all the business people, the business users, the business analysts that said, I just want to build reports in my BI tool. I don't care about data warehousing and lakehousing and science and engineering and all of that. And I think what they'll find is, because we already announced this new capability of the integration with OneDrive, that a lot of those users will never have to go to the Fabric portal at all. They will just use the Power BI desktop, build their reports, and then to share it with other people, they will do the same thing that you do with any other Office application. They just go to the corner of the screen on the top on the right, and say, create a share link, take the link, paste it, and send it through email or through chat to other users. And the other user will click on the link and it will open it in the browser for them. It will be the same way that you're sharing your Excel, your Word, your PowerPoint, just peer-to-peer sharing using OneDrive. And that peer-to-peer sharing using OneDrive will be ideal for people who just want to do Power BI and they don't care about anything else. And the Fabric portal will be for the people who want to do more, want to build an entire application. And maybe the application just is made just out of Power BI reports, or maybe it's made out of way more components in the stack because they want to ingest data and transform it and create a warehouse and a lake house and do some data science and eventually also Power BI reports and package the whole thing as a big application to share with the users. So I think that we'll see the Fabric world, more for people who aspire for more, want to learn more, want to build more complex things. And the Power BI desktop and the OneDrive is for the people who are just happy with peer-to-peer sharing, just one report at a time, and I'm good.
Yep. Amazing. All right. Let's go to, there's so many questions here. Matthias had a question. How do self-employed consultants get comfy with Fabric beyond the 60-day free trial? It's not 40 days, but
well, here's the idea, right? We have this new class of capacities called the F2 capacities, and the F2 capacities are small capacities. They cost to keep them up. If you keep them up all the time, that will cost something like, right now before reserve instance, it will cost like $7 a day. And after reserve instance, it will cost like $5 a day. So it's basically less than your Starbucks cup of coffee in the morning to keep for 24 hours the capacity up and running. And now you don't have to. If you're a consultant, you don't have any production workloads. You can just turn it on and turn it off. So maybe the thing will cost you, I don't know, 90 cents a day or something like that. It's really not that bad. And then you're not dependent on any trials expiring and so forth. And as a consultant, you can probably afford the 90 cents a day cost. So so that's maybe it's a bit more, but it's really that's what we're talking about here. So we really designed those F2 capacities for small organization, even one person operation. It really is incredibly affordable. And the beauty of it, and I really encourage each one of you to try it, is they actually perform like, they perform like there's no tomorrow. Like they're fast. You think F2, which is like 1/32 of the F64, right? The P1 capacity. So it's supposed to be like a fraction of a P1. And so it's probably going to be, dog slow, but it's not. It's actually really, really fast. So just try it out.
Yeah.
Just try it out.
Matthias, you were wondering what F2 was for? It was for you. That's what it was for. So I will say, though, it gets me in trouble with Patrick a little bit because I forget to pause it and I just leave it on and forget about it. And so that's my problem, though. All right, let's go
But it's
to.
working, right? It's fast.
Oh yeah, no, it works, and it's good
I,
for like if you're demoing something or doing like a proof of concept or something like that, just to spin it up quickly without the massive cost of like an F64 or something like that that you don't
and
necessarily
for the
want.
most part, performance-wise, it will perform like an F64. You
Yeah,
will not see the difference on the performance between an F2 and an F64. It will feel the same. It's not, the differences between the F2 and the F64. It's not going to be about performance. It's about how many things you can do with it
right.
rather than how fast the things are
Yeah.
happening.
Or like if you're
Um,
trying to stick that massive production load on an F2, you may start hitting some bottlenecks
yeah.
at that point.
Yeah, so if you're working for a small business or you're consulting like a work group that maybe have 10 people, F2 will be great. But if you're trying to make it for 1,000 people, F2 will say, okay, enough is
Right.
enough. I
Yep.
cannot carry
Yep.
that kind of a load. But
Yep.
for the 10 people, it will work as fast as an F64 would work.
There you go. There you go. All right, Sandeep's got a question, and I love this question. So, do we still need DAX Studio and Tabular Editor in the Fabric version of Power BI?
Look, I love what what the folks, Daniel with Tabular Editor, and Marco and others on the DAX Studio, what they built, and absolutely appreciate. They made so many contributions to the community, and people love their tools. So there is nothing wrong with using these tools. I actually encourage you. Some of these tools are amazing. Now, we as Microsoft will constantly continue to evolve the tool set that we are providing to all of you as just built into the product. And so there will always be, the core product, the base product will always get better. And I'm sure that Daniel and the other folks will make their tools even better than that. So I think both are, we design it to be coexistent.
Well, and the system is also built in a way where people are empowered to go build those types of tools to enhance things and get those out the door to help people. So, but the other thing I'll comment on, where I really love this question, is Power BI is still Power BI, right? You can do additional things now with Fabric, with like Direct Lake and those things, but you still have all of the capabilities that were there with Power BI. That's why when Arun and Amir did the announcement, they said, "Look, Power BI is generally available. It's been there. It's true. It's tested. It's there. So you can still leverage those tools."
And not a single feature was taken out, and not a single incompatibility was introduced to Power BI. We really made sure that Power BI, as you know it, is still there exactly as you know it.
Yeah. Yep. And it's part of Fabric now. So I always love Patrick just says, like, maybe I just want to be a Power BI guy. And I'm just like, okay, but Power BI is Fabric, so you're a Fabric guy. So that's it. Like, it's just part of Fabric. All right. Let's go back to, let's see, Nate. Is it possible to restore backup files in the lake? So I think some of this is about like today we can do the backup restore on data sets in Power BI.
Yeah.
And so is that going to be retooled maybe to just leverage the lake for that?
I don't remember exactly how. Potentially, I think that, look, we have the file section in the lake house, so potentially it's possible. I would say you should wait a little bit longer. The data sets, they still work going on to provide the full integration of the data sets of Power BI with OneLake. So you all know about the direct lake. So basically Power BI reads the data from OneLake, and then you have, you run, it's kind of import mode without importing anything. But the reverse is still in the works, which is Power BI stores its data that you already have in your data sets back into the lake in Delta Parquet format. So you can, for example, run SQL queries on top of the same data. Or you can do, can run Spark jobs or machine learning training on top of the same data that was ingested into Power BI. So this part is still pending. And I think once this is in, and it's in the works, so it will come in the next few months, then I think that question will be probably more relevant.
Interesting. All right. Good to know. Good to know. So Daniel had a question about in Power BI, we can set up incremental refresh and real time for data sets. It's amazing, but doesn't understand how he can accomplish this with Fabric, with data flows in bronze, silver, gold structure. So thinking about incremental refresh and how to do those types of things when we think about Fabric all up.
So I believe that data flows Gen 2 have the concept of incremental refresh. I haven't played with it myself, I'll admit, but that's what I was told, that we do have incremental refresh with data flow. So the way it will work is you do incremental refresh into a lake house, and gradually every segment, every new increment is an additional Parquet segment in the Delta Parquet file tables in one lake. It's a really good question, Daniel, in terms of, should we just make it more explicit? Should we have it in the tutorial? Here is how you do A, B, and C, and this will achieve exactly what you ask here. I'm not sure our tutorials are directly addressing that specific problem, but I think it's very common, and we should probably
that's great feedback too.
Be more explicit. Yeah.
Yep, and I will say I'll take a note as well and go back, whether it's a guidance thing or a tutorial thing, about how to implement how to think about incremental refresh, both from a data flows Gen 2 perspective, as well as like when we think about notebooks and general lake approaches.
Exactly.
Like how do we do that? Excellent. All right. And so Christian came in with a super chat. Thank you for that. Asking, is Power BI Fabric or is it Power Platform or both? So I'll say the short answer is both, but Amir, what are your thoughts?
Well, Power BI is Fabric, and Power BI is Power Platform, and Power BI is Office. Power BI has this very, very unique property of being belonging to three families of product at once. But what's really cool about it, it really is almost like the connector, the link that connects all these three together.
Yeah.
Because the fact that we are part of Office and part of Fabric means that everything that we have in Fabric shows up in Office. So you go to Data Hub in Teams, or you go to Excel and you look to connect the data, suddenly the entire Fabric data estate shows up for you. So because we are sitting in all three places, we are integrated in all three places, means that we are integrating all these ecosystems together. So it's very, very exciting to be this kind of one product that connects everything together. So it's three of those, not two of those.
Nice. Yeah, Matt said everything is Power BI. Amazing. All right. I think this audience is a little biased though. They love Power BI. And Scott Sewell coming in. He's always, Power BI is the thread of Fabric. So I like that. All right. Moving on. Jay Murphy's got a question here. Will OneLake File Explorer be merged into the OneDrive client? What's the path there?
It's not something that we are thinking about or planning. I cannot speak for what will happen 3 years from now, and maybe it will become something that Microsoft will want to do, but it's not something that is happening right now. One thing that we are looking at, though, is, I hope some of you played with or at least looked at the feature called shortcuts. And, we can shortcut into folders in Fabric, into tables in Fabric. We can shortcut into other clouds. But then when we think about what's next, one of the things that we're looking at, can we shortcut into OneDrive? So you can have a folder full of Excel files in OneDrive, and you want to process those Excel files in Fabric. So instead of moving them from your OneDrive into Fabric, into the Lakehouse, you just shortcut your OneDrive folder into Fabric, and voila, those files show up instantly. And anytime you save another Excel file into OneDrive, it just shows up in the Lakehouse. So I think we'll see more and more integration between OneDrive and Fabric. And as you already know, there's integration coming between Power BI and OneDrive. So these OneDrive environment and Fabric/Power BI environment, I think, are going to get closer and closer together. Will we have one client? I don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, and also that the iteration of bringing Power BI closer into Microsoft 365 all up too. So bring Power BI like where you work and what you're dealing with, instead of having to go to the portal. So I'm sure that'll continue to be iterated on. So, all right. So Alex was following up about the incremental refresh. He did call out that the incremental refresh in Data Flows Gen 2 is not there yet. He linked to a comparison doc that's out there, and also commented he's bringing that feedback every day. So
Okay.
So keep the feedback coming. Again, ideas at I go to Fabric Ideas to get your feedback in as well. But I'm sure it'll be there at some point.
It will be there.
Yep. So okay, let's go back to where did that go? 1 second. Okay. So Tim had a question. This was in regards to the recent blog that went out about pricing and information. It did talk about OneLake storage and some of the costs around that. And I know some of that hasn't really been there's information that hasn't been disclosed yet, but I'll throw this out there. Do we have a rough idea on the included OneLake storage for P1, P2 premium capacity? So anything you can maybe give?
I'll tell you, Tim, it's not like we have the information. We said, let's just withhold it from Tim. We're actually working on it actively. And there is, I would say, different considerations being discussed and what is the right number and is it too much or is it too little? I think that our goal is that anybody who has a P1 capacity can instantly start working with Fabric without getting stuck, that they don't have storage to create their lake houses and warehouses. I also say that any of the Power BI artifacts that you have today, this 100 terabyte, given with the P1 or with the premium capacities, none of those will count against the storage that you have in OneLake. So we will just take it out. Already, P1, the storage was semi-free. 100 terabyte is quite a lot. So it was. I don't know if there's anybody in Power BI today that actually exhausted the 100 terabyte. No. So it's kind of for all of you. Storage was free in Power BI, and those things that were free before will continue to be free today. After. So now there's no take-back, and that's a really, really strong principle we have. Is there's no take-back. So now we're talking about the new things. The lake houses and the warehouse, things that did not exist in Power BI, the thing that is stored in OneLake. And the balance we have to strike is, on one hand, we just cannot afford to just give infinite amount of storage for everybody. And these things tend to be way larger than we ever have in Power BI. So we are a business, and we cannot, there's just we cannot just give all this storage away for free. But on the other hand, we wanted to be able to start using your P1 instantly without having to first configure an Azure subscription that we can charge you on and so forth. So what is that balance between you start quickly and storage is not free in your warehouse or lakehouse? And that is that amount of data, of storage that will be a part of the part of your premium capacity, and I don't know exactly what the number is going to be. So when we know, tuned. We'll let you know.
Yep. And again, pay attention to the Fabric blog. Once that information's announced, that's where it'll drop. And then again, you'll see it on Twitter and Reddit, and you'll hear about it on Guy in a Cube as well. I even made the comment, once that information's out, do a whole video on it, talking about what it means. So stay tuned.
I would say one more thing. Whatever we know, anything that you have to pay for, you should just know that the prices of storage are just commodity prices. There's no extra premium that we take on the storage in OneLake. We know OneLake is amazingly functional and it can do so many great things that regular storage systems just don't do. But we don't charge extra for that. So the same cost that it will cost you to store, in Azure data, in ADLS, it's the same cost that essentially the same cost that we are charging. And because we want you to make sure that you don't have any reason not to store your data in OneLake. So, and if you do the math, it's at the end of the day, it's really not that much. I think something like I'm winging it a little bit. It's something like, before discounts, $20 per terabyte per month. So you build this gigantic data warehouse for the entire enterprise. For if 10 terabytes, it's $200 a month for an enterprise data warehouse. It's just not that much.
Well, and I will even say, in some of the customers I've worked with, some of the large customers I've worked with, the storage price was never the thing that came up. It was always more on the compute side and what was going on there.
And I think that the thing that bothers people is, and I appreciate it, is it's one of the things that say I have an uncertainty, because typically when the capacities, one of the beautiful things about the capacity is that they're fixed price. You know exactly how much you're going to pay month in, month out. You know exactly how much it's going to cost. But you say, but storage, I'm worried. What will happen if suddenly the storage bill blows up? And first of all, let's put it back in proportions. Even if you have a very large data warehouse, it will never blow up. It's just not enough. It's just too inexpensive for this ever to blow up. But we have to provide the data and the information. But just let's reduce the anxiety level, I think, down. It's really not very expensive.
Awesome. All right, Donald, super chat also. Thank you for that. Any thoughts on converting underscore table names from Direct Lake to user-friendly names with spaces?
Yes, we are keenly aware of that. We have active discussions about it. We are not happy with that. There is the default behavior of Spark that is such that is discouraging spaces. So it's not really working very well with spaces. So we're trying to figure out a way to make it more friendly. We like spaces. We like we like case insensitive. So we are working on a plan there. So don't give up. There's a very strong sentiment of that. We have to solve it. That's what users want. Let's be friendly with it.
Yep. All right. Chris Jones had a question about the Spark pools. So I thought I remembered hearing something like live Spark pools are maintained, so no more waiting 5 minutes for spin up. That's not been my experience. And so I think we're talking about like the starter pools that are available on that front. And also you've got options to configure different types of pools that you want to use for that.
So Chris, I don't know. I actually been hearing almost consistently the opposite feedback of how awesome it is that just starts in like 10 seconds or so.
Right.
If you're getting something that consistently is 5 minutes, something is not working as designed. So let's try to connect and figure out what's happening in your configuration. If it happens from time to time, maybe something else is going on. Maybe, and that's one of the things that we are constantly evaluating and adjusting as part of the beta. So what happened? How does this Spark pool start so quickly? Well, we kind of have pre-provisioned node that we keep them warm and just kind of waiting in line, waiting on the shelf, waiting for somebody looking or needing them, and then they're just jumping into actions instantly because we don't have to provision a machine and install the the Spark software on the machine, because everything is pre-provisioned. We just assign it to you. It's kind of a ready-made. So that is the mechanism that is behind the scene, and we are kind of paying for the cost of the machines that are just waiting there warm. Nobody's using them, but that's kind of part of the cost of doing business. It's fine, but it could be that we just run out of these war machines on the shelf. It could be that somehow you ask for them exactly when we run out. And our goal is that we'll never run out. Our goal is we have enough predictive ability to know how many to keep in stock, all warm up, ready to go. So whenever you come in, we have, hey, here you go. You ask for a live pool cluster. We have the machines. You go, use them. But maybe just caught us when we were run out. And as I said, part of the refinement of the product is to make sure that these cases are becoming more and more rare.
Yep. So yeah, and my experience too with those starter pools have been like it just works. Like it's there. That's amazing. All right, we're bumping up against the clock here. I'll grab one more here from Gaston. This is the coup de grace, and I'm pretty sure like we don't have an answer for this yet for obvious reasons. We're just started the public preview, but any ideas for timeline on general availability? I knew this was going to come up.
Yeah. So you have to wait for this. It's not that far off. I'm not allowed to say, but I will tell you that the team is thinking it's some months away. The team is working on just getting the quality right, and the moment we feel that we are there, it will be out. And we don't feel it that far out. So, but I cannot give here the date.
It's okay.
There is a date.
Yep. So, and I will look, it's not going to be like 5 years from now. So you're not going to have to wait like crazy long period of time. But I think the important thing though is for folks to focus on the public preview as that opportunity to get feedback in, refine things, make sure that it's really ready for general availability.
And I would say one more thing, like it's the feedback from the feedback from the preview so far have been phenomenal, and the reception we are seeing is incredible, and the positive attitude toward Fabric just show that we did something. Apparently, we did something that resonates with you guys, and I think that we have enough functionality for our first kind of version 1.0 GA. And so really for us, let's just wrap it up, clean up whatever small spills that we have here and there, make sure that everything connects with everything else, make sure that we report correctly the consumption across the board. So just kind of last phases before we can finish, we can really release the product. And the other thing you should know is Fabric will continue to advance week after week after week. So even when we have the moment of what we call general availability, the week after general availability, there will be a new version of Fabric.
Yeah.
And the week after, there will be another new version of Fabric.
That's
So
it.
Fabric will continue to evolve week after week after week. It's not like that magical day of general availability. It's almost like a legal document that says, okay, we can now say we are generally available, therefore go.
Boom, here's your blog
system.
post. Yeah.
But that's about it. Except everything continues, week after week after week, continue to evolve the product.
Yeah. And I will say that if you're familiar with the cadence of Power BI and every month was like Christmas and getting new features and things like that, like you're going to see the same thing with Fabric. It's the same kind of cadence. So.
And we're talking about thousands and thousands of engineers now working on building Fabric. So Power BI was built by a couple of hundreds of people. When I talk about many thousands of people working on Fabric. Yep. So you're going to see like every week a lot of stuff showing up all the time.
Yep, it's going to be great. All right, Amir, that brings us to the end of the stream. Again, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. You're welcome here anytime. Any closing thoughts of wisdom?
Yes, just play with it. Just learn it. It's such an amazing opportunity for everybody involved to just upskill, to become an expert in data engineering, learn some Python and try some notebooks, do some data warehousing, see the power of T-SQL, and then at the end of the day, I know most of you coming from Power BI. Power BI is still, I still have such a warm spot for Power BI. I spent so many years building it, and
there's a lot of great things coming from Power BI too.
And so much of it is just making your Power BI better. That's it.
That's it. All right. Thank you so much, Amir. Thanks everyone in the chat, and have a great rest of your weekend. And we'll see you on the interwebs. All right. Bye, everyone.